Welcome to the Mike Litton Experience Podcast. Mike has over 31 years experience in real estate, finance, and investing. He's passionate about being a father, a teacher, a realtor, an investor, and a leader. Everyone has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. And now, introducing the host of the Mike Litton Experience, Mike Litton.
So what can you expect from the Mike Litton Experience? You can expect stories that will inspire, motivate, advice that will sharpen your focus, and expert information on real estate, finance, and market conditions.
It's when you find people like you, you're a treasure, by the way. When you find people like you who have experienced what you've experienced and then taken that and carried it into parenthood, that's a big deal. You are rare. No pun intended, right?
Thank you.
But you really are. I mean,
Yeah.
you gotta think about that for a second, because unfortunately you are, right? And I believe, like, I just did an interview right before this one and literally volunteered to come speak to their group, because it's incredibly important that we get the word out, that we have a conversation that's an ongoing conversation about, this is what we need to be doing with our children. This is what we need to be doing as parents. This is what we need to be doing with administrators and with teachers and with coaches, right? These are the things that need to happen. So anyway, that's awesome. Okay. So high school was a big deal for you. You graduate from high school. Where do you go from there?
Straight to UC Santa Barbara. And I decided to walk onto the basketball team. So
Love it.
I could have played football and had a scholarship to a small school, nothing big, but to a small Christian school or something like that. And I decided basketball was more fun.
Yeah.
So instead of actually going to a school where I could probably compete really well, I decided to go to a D1 school. And mainly it was when I went to visit in the spring, and and I'm making my decision because I didn't get any scholarships to play basketball.
Right.
It's like I go to Santa Barbara and there's, people carrying surfboards across campus, and there's, and I'm like, okay, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Right? And we couldn't have gone to visit on a better week. It was like sunshine and perfect weather, and people are, laying out, reading books. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. And I'm like, how could I say no to this?
Yeah.
So I decided to go there. I have, again, a lesson from, my high school basketball coach. I go back to my basketball coach and I tell him, and I said, hey, listen, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to UC Santa Barbara and I'm going to walk onto the basketball team. And he goes, oh, okay. And I was like, okay, that's it. And I said, do you think I can make the team? And then he goes, do you think you can make the team? And I'm like, I have no idea. And he goes, there you go. And I'm like,
wow.
I kind of
love this guy, man.
Yeah. And I go back to him again. And I was just like, hey, I really need to understand. I'm like, do you think I can make the team there? And he goes, I think you really need to come to a conclusion. Do you think you can make the team?
Yeah.
And right in that second time, it clicked. And I'm just like, oh my God, it's on me.
Yeah.
Like, why do I need somebody's outside opinion in order for me to pursue a path in life? And I don't. And I said, honestly, I think I can.
Yeah.
And then he goes, okay. And I said, but in order to do it, I need the keys to the gym so that I can come in and I can shoot and I can work out consistently. And so he goes, here's the key. So I went to the gym every single day, twice a day, all through summer. We took no vacation that year. I worked out every single day, twice a day. Before I left, he made one call for me, said that somebody was coming in, and when they came in, I wanted to get in before tryouts and I wanted to work out with the team. Right. So I got to work out with the team from the time I got there until tryouts, and I was basically already a member of the team.
Awesome.
And so then tryouts come along and I'm like, wait, we just had practice this morning. I have a jersey, I have a locker, and I still have to try out with these guys. And then sure enough, I had to go try out. And then there was one other guy who was a walk-on who was really, really good as well. And then I figured it out. That Coach Williams, teamed me up against him. And all he and I did was battle. And so we battled the whole time. And at the end of it, I was pretty confident that I would keep my spot and he would probably make the team as well. And, but man, it was brutal.
Well, you had to own it though.
I had to own it. It was on me and he kept putting it back on me. And
Yeah.
it's interesting. So I heard this gentleman, and we have a habit of doing this as parents, is we want to celebrate our children when they do something well. And, I'm working really, really hard not to be the one who always from the outside gives the praise that my daughter's looking for. So she draws pictures, she brings it to me, she creates something, brings it to me. Hey, what do you think? I just did this, right? The typical response is, oh my gosh, that's awesome. You did a great job. No, back up.
Yeah.
What do you think about it? Tell me about it. Let them internalize it and then express it. And then you can agree with them.
Yeah.
But it was mind numbing because there it was for me as a high school graduate and dealing with that. And then now it's something that I have to really work hard for because we're conditioned. We just want our kids to feel great and do those things. But how do we allow them to internalize their successes?
Yeah, absolutely. And you ask them a question, right? Is there anything you could have done better?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
That's one of the most powerful questions you can possibly ask.
I love it.
And it gets them thinking, right? It's like,
that's what we want them to do is think.
Yeah. And exactly. So that's really cool, man.
Yeah.
So UC Santa Barbara for 2 years. Then where do you go?
I dropped out of school.
What happened?
Well, I wasn't playing.
Okay.
I wasn't getting any playing time.
Okay.
And so it was great. I got to practice a whole bunch.
Yeah.
But I'm 5'11". I'm like, and to be dead honest, it's like, besides playing defense, like I wasn't a great shooter.
Yeah.
I mean, I could score in high school, but now I'm going to play with the trees. And, I think I'm a good defender, but everybody else is as good or better.
Right.
So all of a sudden, like, it's like I'm on the team, but who cares?
Yeah.
And so I realized I wasn't going to play basketball, at any real level. I wasn't going to get playing time. So I decided that I was really, really interested in business. I had, when I was 17, between my junior and senior year, I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Ooh.
And that was the click that I'm not going to have jobs. I'm going to build businesses.
Right.
And so that led me in entrepreneurship. And so, kind of in the second year of school, and I'm like, God, this is like torture. It is torture. I'm going to school for this idea that I should be going to school because it's kind of like the thing to do. And I decided, let me go build there's always school. I could always go back. If I wanted to go get a degree, I could always go back to school. I can still do it today.
Sure.
But I kind of want to go pursue something. And so I went and I started a business.
Beautiful. What did you start?
Oh, it was awful. It was a door-to-door sales business. It was awful. It was, okay. So I take that back. It was awful, but it wasn't as bad as I make it out to be.
Yeah.
There was a program that I got connected with. A friend of a friend kind of introduced me and wrote me into it. It was kind of this bait and switch business opportunity.
Oh, geez.
But the cool part was their training system was remarkable.
There you go.
So their sales training, still to this day, I look back and go, that was the greatest experience, because now, like, I'll never be broke because I can sell shit.
Yeah.
And so the ability to sell was hands down the greatest gift.
Yeah.
So I went through that, and then essentially what you do is you kind of move up through the ranks, and you're an independent contractor. You're selling your products, business to business. You walk into a business and literally sell what's in the trunk of your car. It's ghetto as can be.
Yeah.
But we do that. And then you start training other people. You build up a team, you take that team and you open your own office. And so I did that. And I opened an office, had it. So at the time I was, I think 20, and then I sold the company when I was 22. So I opened an office in Sacramento, had 40 salespeople working in the office. Somebody came in, they basically wanted the contract that I had for all the products that we had. And so I sold that company. Basically it was like just over 2 years later.
Awesome. So you sell the company, you're 22, rich old, right? Rich old age of 22.
Yeah.
Then what?
And then I started buying real estate.
Okay. So walk us through that.
Yeah. So this is pre-08.
Yeah.
So in the 04 era. And I started investing in some properties. And the idea was, I'm going to become a millionaire, right? I'm going to become worth the Rich Dad Poor Dad. I'm going to buy all these assets.
That's right.
The problem was the hot take in the market was fix and flips. And so I did a couple of those, and I was like, okay, cool. I took the money from the business, dumped it into some real estate, fixed and flipped a couple properties, had more money than I started with. So I was like, I did this right. I'm awesome. And then I said, I saw this idea where you could go in, and this is when development was huge. They're building communities, neighborhoods, like, hundreds of homes at one time, all over the Sacramento Valley. So in Northern California, right? So Bay Area money's pushing east and coming up into the Sacramento Valley. And I go in and I say, well, I'm going to buy a brand new home that I thought I was going to live in. And I'm going to buy a brand new home. They're going to build it. And this one happened to already be in construction. So I was a little late to the game. So I didn't get first phase. And I kind of started to understand how all this stuff works. So I did that, decided I don't want to live in that one. There's another development over there. So I went in, I got in first phase on another one, and then it clicked. And I was like, wait a minute, these two different communities don't know that I'm buying a house from both of them at the same time.
Right.
So before this one even gets finished, we put a sign in the yard, sell the house before I had to finance it. And I made a profit.
Yeah.
And I turned around and I said, if I can do that with 2 communities, could I do that with 6 or 8?
Right.
And I started basically going, and you put deposits down on all these properties in all of these different developments. And you've got all the builders and, KB Homes and all these other guys. And so I did that. And I think the most we ever did was like 8 at a time. And I went in and I had all these properties in construction. As soon as they were done, put the sign in the yard, it would sell in a day. You make your profit, you walk away. You never even had to take out a loan.
Right.
And then they got smart because they realized people were doing that.
Yeah.
So then they cut that off. And it was like, okay. So then it was back to the fix and flips.
Yeah.
And so then I went to the fix and flips and I got a little too aggressive. I didn't understand enough of cash flow. And I was buying properties that we were getting at decent deals, knowing that if we fixed them up, we could flip them, make a profit. However, we had 0 cash flow coming in.
Yeah.
So I was living off of the equity that I had built and all the cash that I had accumulated through capital gains, but I didn't have any idea what I was doing when it came to creating cash flow.
Right.
And then the market crashes.
Yeah.
And 08 nails us. And we watched the equity that, we thought was our margin just shrink and shrink and shrink and shrink. And because it was being overdeveloped, the Sacramento Valley was just really got pummeled fast.
Yeah.
So I went, oh man, like this is bad. So I immediately went to every investor that I could find. And I said, hey, I've got this property. Here's the status. Let's sell them. I had 16 properties in construction at one time.
Wow.
And I'm 25 years older-ish.
Right.
Not smart.
Yeah.
Unbelievably over leveraged, unbelievably out of my mind, 0 cash to come to me.
Right.
So I dump a bunch of them to some investors and just said, get me out of it. I went back to the banks. I tried to negotiate. This is before they were actually negotiating with anybody. I went to them like, look, I have nothing. All these are in construction. I'm like, you don't want these back. Let's figure something out. All of them said no. So I gave 8 properties back to the bank and walked away.
Yeah. And
I had no more money at all. I was not a hot shot with the whole real estate portfolio anymore. And I was at 0. And so I had to stay with my sister. I had to start reading self-help books. And that was a nice low for me.
Nothing like a reset.
Right?
Yeah. But you learned a lot, right? I mean, there's a ton that you learned from it.
100%. I think failure is the greatest teacher.
Yeah.
Failure is the greatest teacher, but most people don't like the lesson.
Yeah.
And since they don't like the class, they don't pick up what they should.
Yeah.
And so it took me a while because I was really depressed after that. And I'm not a depressed person. I don't ever get depressed. I kind of don't believe in depression, but I was really down.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, I guess I got to read self-help books because this sucks.
Yeah.
And that's when I kind of was like, okay, I'm reading, some of the stuff from like the movie, The Secret, I'm reading some of those authors and learning about intentions and manifestation and all those things. And then a buddy of mine hands me the 4-Hour Workweek. And I picked that book up and I read it cover to cover in a night. And I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Yeah. And so I sat down and I decided to move to San Diego because the energy was better in San Diego than it was in Sacramento, where I just lost my whole life.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go down, and I was living in at that time in Del Mar. And I said, all right, I'm going to sit down at this kitchen table and I'm going to build a business page by page out of the 4-Hour Workweek.
Right.
Literally word for word, I built a business out of it. And so that became my first e-commerce business. I sold a supplement. It did really well from essentially 2009 until 2016-ish. And then the FDA stepped in, and it was a homeopathic product, and then they cracked down, that whole thing.
Yeah.
So here we go.
Yeah. Thanks to the FDA, right?
Oh, well, it's just like government oversight. Yeah. I mean, heaven forbid somebody take herbs. Like, good Lord.
Yeah. Heaven forbid, right?
Yeah.
So after that, where do you go?
So after that business, the FDA shuts that business down. Kind of a mix. I'm living in San Diego. I decide one day I'm driving up the coast. Business is booming. I got virtual assistants that I outsource everything to. So they're running the show. I got clients coming in. We're shipping product from our warehouse out in Colorado. And I'm like, I kind of want to live in the snow this year.
Yeah.
I said, my lease is almost up. Okay. Who has snow? And it's, late October. And I look, and Colorado just had a snowstorm. I'm like, that's it. I've always wanted to live in Colorado. I'm going to go. I packed up all my crap, went back to Northern California, said what's up to my family, and then I left. And I moved to Colorado.
Where in Colorado?
Just outside of Denver.
Okay.
So I started in just outside of Boulder, technically in a little area called Gun Barrel.
Okay.
And then I moved to downtown Denver and lived there.
Okay.
And downtown was fun. That was a blast.
Downtown Denver is amazing.
It really is. And they did a great job with a lot of the redevelopment. And so I moved to Denver and had I snowboarded like crazy and met a ton of people and continued to run that business, and things were awesome until they weren't awesome. And I think it was 2015. I think it was 2015 technically. And then I was like, shoot, okay, I don't have any money because my business just got shut down. And the way they did it was the FDA said, look, this product cannot be sold. So they make that decision, which then goes to banks, and banks make the decision, we will not process credit card payments for that product. So I woke up in the morning expecting to see sales come through.
Yeah.
Because they always did every single day. And I go in and I look, and the merchant account is shut down.
Yeah. You have no business anymore.
And it's gone. Like, and to find another merchant account back then was more challenging than it is today. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so I started doing everything that I could. I had all this inventory. I'm like, well, I could ask people to mail me a check.
Yeah.
Right. We could just do a wire transfer, and it's like, we're selling $150 supplements. I'm like, oh my God. So all of a sudden, it's like, okay, well, why do you have 100, wires coming in? So now the bank's all weirded out. And so that got really bad. But through that process, I ended up coming back to California, visiting family, and I was kind of staying with it. I'm like, okay, I don't know what I should be doing, but I got to figure something out. And I kind of had the business still kind of going enough that I was making enough money, met my wife in a yoga class, and we started dating. And immediately it was like, okay, this is it. Yeah. And so I officially stayed in Northern California with her. We decided to immediately, build our relationship, have kids, like get going. So we had our first daughter. Yes, it was 2015 because we had our first daughter in 2015. And so, it was immediate. So it was 2015, not 2016, but so that was that. So then we have our first daughter then, and then, and then 2 years later, we had our second daughter. Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome.
So, yeah. Crazy. Awesome. Yeah. Super fast.
So what do you end up doing after they shut your company down?
Well, I was pretty good at the marketing piece of it, like getting customers to come buy our stuff. So I was in conversation with just a couple other businesses. And, they were like, well, how'd you get so many people to buy your product? And I was like, oh, this is what I do. And this is this. And they go, can you help us with it? So then it became marketing consulting. And then I'm, consulting businesses, and I'm working with all of these companies. And then I land kind of a decent deal with Keller Williams. So I keep going back and forth out to Austin, Texas, and I'm working with them. We're building out their coaching program that they have within their organization. Then they have a separate coaching business that they wanted to build up. And then that just kind of kept going. And I said, well, I should probably start an agency, and just do this for a living. So then I started a marketing agency. And so, which leads me to my next failure. So I have this marketing agency that's rocking, and we're doing great. And I had a business development person who was a business partner, and we decided, hey, let's build this up. And one day we had 2 clients that were worth about 40% of all of our revenue. So that's a lot, way too much for 2 clients to control. They both canceled in like a 2-week period, both of them. And it was like out of the blue. it's completely out of the blue. They're just bringing everything in house. They've got a staff. They understand what they need to do. Kind of like we did such a good job. They were able to just do it themselves. And it just happened. They're excuse me, totally unrelated businesses.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like it was some like in cahoots, like weird conspiracy thing.
Right.
They were completely unrelated. Technically, I think pretty like opposite sides of the country, even.
Wow.
Unrelated. No idea why it happened. The business development business partner that I had was not developing business. So here, the optimist in me is like, dude, we're just a few clients. Like, we're back on track. We're good. We have, like 27 US employees, people sitting in offices. We have this big office space, glass walls and doors, like, all this fancy stuff, computer equipment, ergonomic chairs, because you can get in trouble if you don't, and all right. Bad idea to have tons of employees. And so he wasn't developing business, and I was taking on personal debt to pay payroll. So we get to about $250,000 in personal debt. And I said, there's nothing left.
Yeah.
So he makes a brash decision after hearing me say that. And he literally turns around out of my office, walks out, and tells everybody we're closing. And I'm like, you can't do that.
Yeah. No
because
kidding.
now we have like 72 hours to cut their payroll checks.
Right.
Or that's illegal if you don't. And we don't have any money.
Right.
We put really bad spot. And sure enough, figuring it all out, I decide I got to walk away from my office lease, walk away from that. They sue me. They get a judgment for about $180,000. So I've got my office lease judgment. I've got $250,000 in debt, and I don't have any income, by the way, barely anything.
Yeah.
And so it's time to close that business officially. And then I'm like, okay, now what do I do?
Yeah, no kidding.
But I knew that I couldn't sit around.
Yeah.
I needed to immediately take action. And so I'm chatting with a guy who became a mentor later, and he says, look, close it down and restart, but do one thing for one niche. Narrow down. So what we were doing is we worked with local businesses. We worked with, and we did everything. You want a website, you want advertising, you want, social media marketing, you want a commercial shot. Like we had all this commercial camera equipment. We would do anything for anyone.
Right.
If somebody had $1, we would take it.
Yeah.
And then realizing that if everybody's your customer, nobody's your customer. Yeah. And so we start, and I go, okay, I'm going to do this right. I'm going to go back to my life of using virtual assistants, and I'm going to rebuild. And so we went from zero, we had one client technically, so $2,300 a month or whatever, to $109,000 a month in 4 months. And a few months later, all my debt was paid off. I was completely clear and clean. And then we were like, okay, I think I figured out how to run businesses now.
Yeah.
And that led me into building more.
So how did you get from $2,300 a month to $109,000 a month in 4 months?
I had one virtual assistant sit and do nothing but prospect 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. The only job that he had was to initiate a conversation with the person that I wanted to do business with, get them to communicate, get them to respond. And then I stepped in, took over the conversation, got them on a call, closed the sale. From there, I had it was at the time, it was just two other virtual assistants that I taught to fulfill the services exactly as I wanted them fulfilled.
Okay.
And so we did that, and it became an assembly line. He prospects, tees me up. I close the deal. They fulfill. Do it again. And it became this just
rinse and
constant,
repeat. Yeah.
Oh, it was awesome. And it became this amazing flywheel. And so that's how we did it. Then it was like, okay, well, 4 months after we kind of hit our first huge milestone, we doubled it. And then it was like, okay, I think I got something here.
Yeah.
And so then, we grew the business and we grew the people, and we had more people doing it. And then I moved myself out of sales. And so I didn't have to do sales anymore. And we put a salesperson in there. And now all of a sudden we've got this model that's just flying.
Yeah. Growing on top of itself.
Yep.
Cool.
So then I've been able to replicate that. What do we have right now? Five businesses.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's pretty
So
fun.
what do those 5 businesses do?
So the first one that actually is a marketing agency for wedding venues.
Okay.
The only people that we serve are wedding venues.
Okay.
That's it.
So that's that specific niche.
That's a specific niche. Then I started a virtual assistant services company because I use virtual assistants.
Cool.
So we provide virtual assistants for small businesses.
Okay.
And that one was the one that just really exploded
Yeah.
and grew like crazy because the need was there. We were fulfilling a really, really good service. And then we've just expanded it and kind of been able to pivot when things have shifted in the market. You know, when COVID hit, we really pivoted hard and then we exponentially grew. The third business that we have does it's data resolution. And so people get traffic to their website, but most people bounce and don't actually become a lead. We can resolve the identities of the people who are anonymous and give them as leads back to the company. And so that's a fantastic business.
Well, like a forensics kind of thing. That's cool.
Similar. Yeah. And that one will probably eclipse the rest of them. It'll be the biggest business we have.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
That one will be cool. And then we have a freight dispatching company, which is very odd, but we use virtual assistants to act as dispatchers for freight companies.
Okay.
So,
and then there's a fifth one.
Yeah. And so the fifth one is we actually do incentive-based marketing. So vacation incentives.
Okay.
So you've probably seen it where it's like, hey, if you come buy a car, we'll send you to Mexico for 4 days, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's actually a model that people can use in their business. And
awesome.
So we launched a business that does exactly that. And we help businesses increase sales, increase conversions by giving them a little incentive to throw them over the edge.
Yeah.
And that incentive is vacation. And it works like clockwork. It's amazing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Good job. Thanks, job. Man.
Appreciate it.
So you have 5 businesses. They're all growing. They're all clicking. They're all doing their thing, right?
Yep.
What are you focused on now?
That's a good question. Right now, I'm focused on trying to figure out what our schedule and life is like with our kids because it's so chaotic right now.
Yeah.
So the cool part is I'm in the middle of a couple projects. The wedding industry business, we have a huge convention coming up. We do 80% of our sales at one convention every November.
Wow.
So it's a big deal. I speak at it. We have an exhibit. We do the whole thing, right? It's big old to do.
Yeah.
The second is the data resolution company. We're in the middle of targeting a new audience, which is real estate brokers, and working with them directly. And there's a huge, huge need for it just because the way that the real estate market has been over the past couple of years. And the opportunity is just, it's unreal. Yeah. And so we started with a few of those clients and it's just kind of taken off. And now I'm going to go leverage every relationship I have and try to go to the highest level, get to Gary Keller, get to the owners of ERA, Remax, and filter that through their entire company.
Yeah.
So we had the 2 big ones we got.
So we had Alex Vidal on, the president of ERA.
Yep.
So I'll be happy to make the introduction for you.
I would love it.
And I used to own a franchise with Gary Keller. I don't know him that well, but
did you really? Yeah.
I actually started and owned a Keller Williams office for 18 years.
My agent is an ERA agent. So, cause that's my other focus is we invest in real estate.
Yeah.
Again,
that's
the
cool.
right way this time.
That's cool. You're doing it the right way this time.
The right way. Cash flow. Yep. Doing it right. I'm being so conservative, so simple, like nothing complex, nothing, out of the box. I'm just straight to it. Cash flow. Let's go. I look at that for generational wealth. Like those will go to my kids.
Gotcha.
So that's what we're after. Yeah.
So if somebody wants to work with you, how do they go about doing that?
Easiest thing to do, shoot me an email.
Okay.
Like we can talk about all the other things that we've got going on. I can send you to all these different websites, but email me joe@joerare.com. joe@joerare.com. I will warn you, I don't check my own email. And this is probably the one thing that I wish entrepreneurs understood and the activity that they took, like got off their plate.
Yeah.
They should not be checking their own email.
Yeah.
Somebody else should be doing it. Somebody should be responding on their behalf. Somebody should be filtering and basically, prioritizing what comes in, and it'll save business owners an ungodly amount of time. It's unreal. It is it was kind of the domino that I tipped over that I was like, oh, everything changed after that.
Yeah.
So my assistant will act as me and she will be the one to check the email. She'll set up a call. She'll do all that. But she makes sure that I know everything that's coming in. I get a summary every morning and every evening, so I know everything that's going on. But joe@joerare.com. That's the easiest way.
Yeah. By the way, that worked really well. Your assistant's really good. I dealt with her back and forth, right? Getting all this set up. She's awesome. So yeah, that's a cool system, man.
It's like so one of her roles is to help me get on podcasts.
Yeah.
And it's like if somebody comes out and they work with us, awesome. If they don't, and we just get to kind of share one tidbit of information that supports somebody, that's even better.
Yeah.
And she's gotten me on hundreds of podcasts.
Yeah.
And whatever her method is, I don't know the exact thing. There's a formula for it. She does so good.
Yeah.
And it's unbelievable. Yeah. Like she blows me away every time. I'm like, wait, how many more podcasts?
Right.
Like, oh my God, I'm talking too much.
That's awesome, dude. That's awesome. Is there anything else you want to cover before we wrap up?
No, that's it. I think, I don't know, if people have questions, email me. Even if you just want to touch base and figure out what the heck I'm doing, ask. Yeah. I'd love to support anybody doing anything. And I don't know, maybe I can coach you and I could be that impact in your life. That'd be cool.
Love it, dude. Thank you so much for being our guest on the Mike Litton Experience. This has been fun.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy. We hope you enjoyed another episode of the Mike Litton Experience. If you did, do us a favor, smash that subscribe button, tell your friends, family, and coworkers about our program, and wherever you get your podcasts, please leave us a rating. It helps us to connect with quality people just like you.
And that's a wrap. Another episode of the Mike Litton Experience in the books. Reach out to Mike on Instagram at Litton Realty. Want to meet with Mike? Check out calendly.com/Rio760.